Okay, welcome back everyone. Welcome back to our new subscribers. Today we're going to talk about diabetics. Pucker up to lower your blood sugar. Think about that for a minute while I go over my quick disclaimer, and then we're going to get started immediately. So, although I have a medical background both in the Army and as a civilian, this is not a medical channel. This channel shares my common sense journey as a diabetic and how I was able to reverse my diagnosis as a type 2 diabetic by reversing my blood sugar and hemoglobin A1C, or A1C as we call it. My aim for this channel, guys, is to share what has worked for me with you and hopefully put you on the right path to reverse your diabetes diagnosis as well. Let's get started, guys. Diabetics, pucker up to lower your blood sugar. That's what we're talking about today. Sounds kind of weird, I know. But that's what we're talking about. So millions of individuals globally are impacted by type 2 diabetes, guys, a persistent ailment characterized by the body's inability to effectively utilize insulin, resulting in elevated blood sugar levels. Successfully managing this condition calls for a mix of lifestyle changes or modifications and or medications for some of us, although natural treatments like this fruit can also aid in regulating blood sugar levels. So it's a fruit. In recent years, there has been growing interest in the possible advantages of this fruit in such areas such as muscle damage reduction, so recovery, sleep enhancement, pain relief, improved vascular function, and increased antioxidant activity for diabetics. However, the question remains whether this fruit truly lives up to its reputation and who might benefit from consuming it. So let's delve into the scientifically proven benefits and see what we find. Okay guys, if you've been watching my videos, you know what I'm going to ask next. Have you guessed what I'm talking about today? Give you a second to think about that. Okay, we're talking about tart or sour cherries. I know that's not common in your list of fruits to eat, right? Because everyone loves sweet cherries, right? But hear me out on this. The tart or the sour cherries are the way to go as a diabetic, guys. One thing to keep in mind is anything tart, anything sour, anything bitter is great for blood sugar. That's something to keep in mind. So what is a tart cherry? So what is tart cherry as we call it? So many individuals consume tart cherry, which comes from Montmorency cherries due to its potential to reduce inflammation and help regulate sleep, thanks to its high levels of antioxidants, flavonoids, and naturally occurring melatonin. So antioxidants and flavonoids, right? You've heard me talk about these things with various of the different items or topics we've discussed in prior videos, and you know those are big deals. Those are a big deal for diabetics, right? And melatonin is just an added benefit in my opinion, because without good sleep as a diabetic, you know what your blood sugar is going to look like in the morning. And if you don't, you should look into it, because if you don't get enough sleep, your blood sugar is going to be horrible in the morning. So Montmorency cherries or tart cherries or sour cherries are recognized for their bright red color and their unique sweet and sour taste. It's an acquired taste, guys. It took me a little while to get used to it. My mom actually has a sour cherry tree that she grows, and every summer I get some cherries from her, and that's how I figured out that this works for my blood sugar as well. So kind of like everything else I've figured out, kind of trial and error. But raw pitted Montmorency cherries or sour cherries contain roughly 3 grams of fiber per cup, which is lost during the juicing process if you're a juicer type person. So I never recommend juicing unless it's something hard to get. You know, sometimes I guess you can get away with drinking cherry juice, but I like to get something that the way nature intended it, right? So to get the cherry the way it is, that it's a pain to take the pit out of the cherry, and you know, because there's so many cherries, but roughly 1 cup is going to give you 3 grams of fiber. And the key here is when something is juiced, you're destroying all the fiber because you're blending all the fiber, so it's not intact to do its job to slowly allow the food to digest in your stomach. In fact, when you hit it with the blender, what's going to happen is that, you know, you're not going to have the fiber and it's nature's intended package, and it's going to just, you know, not do anything for you. Whatever you're going to eat, if it's sweet, it's going to be absorbed quickly. So these cherries can be consumed in various forms, right? So such as fresh, which is my preference, guys, frozen, which I also do, but they're whole, dried or powdered, right? And of course, the last choice would probably be juiced. So tart cherry nutrition. So according to the USDA data, 1 cup, which is roughly 269 grams of tart cherry, contains the following. And when I say tart cherry, guys, I mean sour cherry. When I say sour cherry, I mean tart cherry. They're interchangeable in my opinion. However, this varies by brand, so check your labels like anything else we talk about, right? I'm not discussing brands here. I'm not going to push any brands here. We're just talking about things the way nature intended. So these tart cherries roughly have about 159 calories, 36.9 grams of carbs. Pay attention to that. 32.8 grams of sugar, 0.83 grams of protein, 1.4 grams of fat, and 4.33 milligrams of potassium. So you're going to say to yourself, well, the carbs are 36.9 grams, right? That's kind of high. Yes, it is kind of high, right? And it also has sugar. It's still a cherry. It has sugar. So the things that are working against us as diabetics will be the sugar and the carbs. But hear me out. So tart cherry benefits for diabetics. Tart cherries have substantial amount of antioxidants for us, including melatonin, which I just discussed, carotenoids, hydroxycinamates, as well as various flavonoid groups such as anthocyanins, which is a common theme that we've talked about in the past in other videos, and flavanol quercetin. Polyphenols, just mentioned, are a category of plant compounds that I just mentioned. They're all category of a plant compound. So regularly consuming polyphenols is thought to boost digestion and brain health and protect against heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even certain cancers. And we've discussed some of these things already. Red wine, which I discussed in a previous video, certain red wine, and certain things you have to look for in that particular red wine, not just any red wine, because that's not good for us. But red wine, dark chocolate, tea, and berries are some of the best known sources of polyphenols. This is a common theme, polyphenols for diabetics. So yet many of our foods offer significant amounts of these compounds. It's also low on the GI scale, 50 and below. So the carbs are high, there's sugar in there like some of the other things we've discussed in previous videos. But on the glycemic index scale, which is a scale of 1 to 100, anything 55 or below, in my opinion, is adequate for us as diabetics to eat. This is 50 on the GI scale and below. So depending on what variety of sour or tart cherries you get from wherever you are in the world, it can be anywhere between 50 and below. So here's a closer look at the scientific studies investigating how these components may positively impact our health. So it can support sleep. So right away you're thinking, as a diabetic, why is this guy telling me about sleep? Well, sleep is very important to us as diabetics, right? You need to get your 8 hours of sleep, or whatever it is that you get that you feel comfortable with. You can't oversleep and you can't undersleep, depending on who you are, right? Some people, if we oversleep, we get up with high blood sugar. Some people, if we most people, if we undersleep, we get up with high blood sugar in the morning. So adequate sleep is very important. So according to Lauren Torres Gora, a registered dietitian, tart cherries have the ability to produce melatonin naturally. But one would need to consume an impractical amount of 50 pounds, equivalent to over 2,700 fresh cherries, to obtain the necessary 0.3 milligrams of melatonin to support sleep initiation, right? So if you're looking to go to sleep and you can't sleep, cherries are not the way to go. It's just a part of a larger arsenal of items that you can use to help lower your blood sugar. Although some people report improvements in sleep quality and duration after consuming tart cherry, it may not work for everyone as suggested by anecdotal evidence. So yes, everything we talk about on this channel is not guaranteed. What has worked for me is not guaranteed to work for you, but I'm trying to put you on the right path so you're not confused by the medical data that tells you today that something is great and tomorrow that it's bad. So I'm just telling you what worked for me, and you can give it a shot. Talk to your medical provider or your registered dietitian and give me some feedback and let me know if it did or it didn't work for you. But at least you're on the path, which narrows out, takes you out of no man's land, right? And it's anecdotal, right? A lot of the information is anecdotal. There aren't mass studies about this, and my information is anecdotal. I'm just telling you about me. So Torrisi further explains that tart cherries contain tryptophan, an amino acid that contributes to the production of both serotonin and melatonin. And you know tryptophan, right? When you eat turkey, what happens? You feel sleepy, the tryptophan. A small study revealed that sleep quality improved over the course of a week with participants consuming 30 milliliters, approximately 2 tablespoons of Montmorency cherry concentrate twice daily. So 2 times a day they had 2 tablespoons. And Montmorency is just the type of tart cherry or sour cherry. So another small preclinical study found that a tart cherry consumption enhanced sleep duration and also efficiency, with participants drinking 1 cup of tart cherry 2 times a day. A separate study involved elite female athletes discovered that 30 milliliters servings of tart cherry concentrate contributed to improved sleep quality but did not affect their melatonin levels. Right? I don't know how many of us are elite athletes watching this video. I'm not. Although I work out and I've done a lot of physical things in my life, I don't consider myself elite by any means. So Wendy Troxel, a clinical psychologist and sleep specialist, advises combining tart cherry consumption with good sleep habits for better results. Like anything else, it's common sense. My approach has always been common sense, and some of the things you're going to hear here are also common sense. And Wendy also emphasizes that the benefits of consuming tart cherry are significantly less significant than adopting behavioral strategies that have been proven to improve sleep, such as maintaining a constant sleep-wake schedule and avoiding alcohol or caffeine. So yes, so some of these things can be contested or debated, right? So a consistent sleep schedule, I have that. I go to bed at 11 o'clock and I wake up at 7 every single night. But the alcohol thing, I personally, I know alcohol is not the best thing for you, but I drink alcohol socially every now and then. And I do drink coffee, so I obtain caffeine every single day. And I've done a video about coffee and its short-term blood sugar spikes, which has shown to not affect your hemoglobin A1C long-term. And I've proven that by myself, on myself I should say, because I was able to maintain a favorable A1C while still drinking coffee. So Troxel suggests consuming tart cherries in moderation, maybe a glass or two, if it's a juice, a couple of hours before bedtime, but acknowledge that it's unlikely to be the sole solution for healthy sleep. So in other words, everything else that we talk about on this channel, there is no silver bullet to solve your problem as a diabetic. There's synergy involved with all of the things that I'm discussing and how you go about changing your lifestyle and moderating and not eating more than you need to eat to get the effects that you need in terms of blood sugar stabilization. She also recommends combining tart cherry consumption with solid sleep habits, such as maintaining a relaxing bedtime routine, avoiding technology used before bedtime. That's your phones, guys, right? And setting a constant wake-up time every day of the week, which I told you I do. I get up at 7 every morning. But the phone thing is a big deal because the phone has the blue light, which affects your sleep. And, a lot of people, they'll get up, they'll lay in the bed, they're playing with their phones and things like that. I don't do that. When I'm ready to go to bed, I don't touch my phone. My phone goes away, and that's it. If I can't sleep, I try not to touch my phone because, you start getting into a rabbit hole. You start looking at this and looking at that and all these things on your phone. Next thing you know, you're really not sleeping, and you need to sleep because you want a favorable blood sugar, fasting blood sugar in the morning. So for those of us that are athletes, it can boost athletic performance. And I don't just say that for the sake of saying that. I just worked out. I just got finished working out in the gym. And a lot of us a little bit older. So when I say working out, I'm not lifting heavy weights anymore. I stopped lifting heavy weights. And that's a topic for a whole different video. And I'll tell you what happened when I started doing that. A systemic review and meta-analysis revealed that tart cherry supplementation had a slight positive impact on reducing muscle soreness, a moderate beneficial effect on muscle strength recovery, a moderate enhancement of muscle power, a substantial improvement in jump height recovery, and a small effect on sprint time. So these findings suggest that consuming tart cherry supplements can aid in recovery following intense exercise. And exercise is so important for us as diabetics. It doesn't matter what your age is. When I look at the analytics for those of you that are watching this video, at least half of you are over 65 years of age. And that does not excuse you from not exercising. You need to find something to do that keeps you active, whether that be walking, strength exercising. You can use those bands, those elastic bands, but do something, stay active. Don't just sit around all day long. So studies have demonstrated that tart cherry supplementation can alleviate pain and hasten strength recovery after exercise and decrease blood indicators of inflammation and oxidative stress with benefits observed in both strength and endurance exercise. So that's outstanding. So we just talked about not being, sitting around. You need to start exercising or moving around or walking or doing some type of activity. And the great thing about having some activity is that also alleviates pain. My knees used to hurt me a lot because of my time that I spent in the military carrying heavy rucksacks and doing things that I don't want to talk about here. And that was as a young man. My knees would kill me, they would hurt. I couldn't even sit on an airplane for an extended period of time. When I started exercising, that all went away. I can't even remember the last time my knees hurt, to be honest with you. So this is true. And we're talking about inflammation, right? You see reactive protein, which is one of your blood indicators for inflammation. That's checked. Your doctor will check or the hospital will check. And oxidative stress, which is tied to your antioxidant absorption, which is huge for us diabetics as well, right? So although the evidence is compelling, athletes also should only consume tart cherry supplements when the objective is recovery and not muscle development, as long-term antioxidant supplementation may impede training adaptation. So in other words, if you're just someone working out and you're looking to focus on having tart cherry or tart cherry juice to help you with your recovery, that's fine. But if you're looking to build muscles, tart cherry is not going to be building muscles for you, right? There are other things you have to look at, right? Other factors like carbohydrate, protein, and things like that. So oxidative stress, it may help reduce our oxidative stress as diabetics, which is huge because the antioxidants are what helps us as diabetics. And that's a common theme, again, through many of the videos that we've discussed as diabetics. So if you haven't seen those videos, please take a look at those videos because I think it can help you see a common theme of what's going on with our discussions here as diabetics. So according to Deanna Minish, a certified functional medicine practitioner, scientific studies on red-colored plants such as cherries indicate that they possess anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, which can be attributed to the nutritional content, particularly the presence of polyphenols, which again we talk about all the time, right? Which function as potent antioxidants and inhibitors of cyclooxygenase enzymes, got it right this time, involved in inflammatory response. So we don't go too much in depth with all the fancy words and all that stuff, but I'll tell you, cyclooxygenase enzymes, you know what they are, you've heard of them. They're responsible for the inflammatory response in the body. If you've ever experienced inflammation related to pain, for example, arthritis, you felt cyclooxygenase at work. That means you're probably familiar with COX inhibitors because that's what cyclooxygenase is. Specifically COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors, which are NSAIDs and SAIDs, such as commonly known as ibuprofen. I'm not going to give you any brand names here. We'll just talk about generic. And naproxen sodium, I guess, in addition to a new generation of COX-2 inhibitors, which are also NSAIDs today that you see commercials about all the time on television now. So a systematic review and meta-analysis of 10 randomized clinical trials published in 2022 discovered that tart cherry consumption led to a decrease in plasma C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation. I just mentioned that a few seconds ago, C-reactive protein, which is a blood inflammation marker. So it may support overall cardiometabolic health as well. So those of us that have metabolic syndrome tied to diabetes, this is important to know. Tart cherry's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant qualities are significant as inflammation is linked to various long-term conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, cognitive disorders, states Minish, the nutrition expert that I mentioned previously. She adds that these properties can lower the risk of health issues, including cardiovascular disease and diabetes, which are often caused by inflammation. So Thomason, a registered dietitian, further notes that Anthocyanins, which we've always discussed, guys, and other polyphenols, there's another one, in tart cherries have been associated with heart health benefits, including reducing risk factors for high blood pressure and cholesterol. Metabolic syndrome, guys. So you see, I mean, this stuff is great to help with metabolic syndrome. So it may also lower blood sugar levels. So they're saying may, right? So I know it does because I wouldn't be talking about it if it didn't, because it worked for me. A research project in Poland discovered that consuming tart cherry led to a decrease in fasting blood sugar levels for individuals with impaired glucose tolerance. Suggestion, its potential as a preventative measure and its benefits for those already diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The European Journal of Nutrition published a study where participants who were not diabetic consumed Montmorency tart concentrate 30 milliliters twice a day for 6 weeks. So we're talking about people here that are not diabetics. So if you're pre-diabetic, this is something you should pay attention to. This resulted in enhanced insulin sensitivity, which is what we want because we have insulin resistance, right? Which is particularly important for individuals like us with type 2 diabetes. Now, let's talk about how much to take. So typically it's recommended that you take, let's say, 8 ounces or 1 cup of tart cherries a day. As you can see, some of the research that we discussed prior, a few minutes ago, talked about 2 cups. So I would start with a half a cup and work my way to see how it affects my blood sugar. Now, like anything else we talk about, guys, there's always medical interactions with any of these things, right? And if you're on medication, tart cherries may interact with some medications, and some medications may include medications used to control blood pressure and cholesterol levels. So if that's you, talk to your doctor first. Blood thinners, make sure you talk to your doctor. Antibiotics, of course, and corticosteroids, which are a type of anti-inflammatory drug. So if you're on any type of corticosteroid or steroids itself, talk to your doctor and speak to your doctor if you're concerned about any of these interactions with the medication that you're taking. So yes, let's go back to how I have tart cherries. So how do I have tart cherries? I have it 3 times a week, guys. I work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as you know, because when you see my videos, I always have my sweats on and my hoodie on, right? Today it's a warmer day, so I don't have my hoodie on. And it's in my post-workout smoothie. So typically these are frozen tart cherries that I keep in the freezer, and I just dump it into my blender bottle, a blender thing, and it goes in with a bunch of other ingredients that I will talk about eventually. And then I have it 3 times a week, and it equates to about a cup's worth of tart cherries in addition to everything else that goes into my post-workout recovery smoothie, which also helps lower my blood sugar. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, share it with other diabetics that need the help, because I'm giving you information here that others aren't going to give you. Other people, if you want just regular medical information, I could have done that because I have a medical background to do so, but I've chosen to give you a different perspective, which is my personal perspective on how it has affected my blood sugar levels. And also participate in our community. I want to build a community here of like-minded diabetics that want to help each other. And I think that's it, guys. That's all I have for you today. Give tart cherries a try. Let me know what you think. Talk to your doctor. Give me some feedback. Let me know how I'm doing in terms of providing insight on things that most people don't talk about. And if they do talk about it, they don't talk about it in the manner that I talk about it from a personal perspective and how it has helped me to reduce my type 2 diabetes. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.